You look awake.
Yeah.
We don't often pod, thank you. Or I know it's probably Matthew, maybe he's home from school. It's 2:30 my time, 5:30. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
I'm awake. I'm alive. I think
Yeah.
on our
There's no
screen,
hoodie for our
there's
listeners.
there's no hoodie. There's no
Yeah.
hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Well, we're keeping it real.
Hoodie on the barbell. So in the morning and at night, just hoodie love.
Right. I thought you were going to say hoodie and the blowfish.
All those card dogs too.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're back. The NBA season has started.
Before we get to NBA, I just want to talk about baseball. I want to make sure we reflect and pay our respects to Fernando Valenzuela, who passed short-lived 63 years, the first rookie to win the Cy Young, great Dodger. So we will be missed. Lefty, screwball, Fernando Mania. You were trying to off air compare it to Lynn Sandy, and I
Yeah.
almost vomited as a Dodger fan. But
Yeah.
love Lynn Sandy, but Fernando Mania there's nothing like it. So for those who we watch the World Series, we Dodgers and all our fans will be wearing 34 to pay tribute to Fernando.
Mm.
So one, I want to call out, and two, I want to give you space
Yeah.
because I know you're probably still in a little bit of mourning. I often give you grief for any New York team.
Yeah.
There was one Sunday that the Giants and Jets, neither one scored a touchdown, or Buffalo. It was crazy, some crazy
Right.
stat.
Mhm.
The Knicks are back. We'll get to the NBA. We'll forget about that first game, but
The
Boston,
Liberty were just fetted with a kicker
the
parade.
Liberty crowned, and yes, everyone knows that was a trouble, and everyone knows that wasn't a foul.
Nafisa Collier is my favorite WNBA player by far after
But
watching that series.
baller. But I want to give you some space to talk about
Mm.
the Mets. I will share. I did get a chance to go to Game Two, Mets Dodgers series, 108 start time. Make that time. So I am literally standing on one leg trying to get the cell phone. I'm on a Teams call. There's like 15 people on the call.
Yeah.
I'm outside from 1 to 1:30. I walk in, and when I'm walking in, still not at my seat, I see one of the screens. I see, I can't remember his name, hit the dinger. So hit a grand slam. So by the
Oh,
time I got in my
Vientos.
seat,
Yeah.
yeah, by
Yeah.
the time I got in my seat, it was 6-0. That was the game I went to.
Right.
So outside of that, and we were texting, it was 1-1, but talk to me. How are the Mets fans doing?
We're doing well. And let the record reflect. Check out our last episode. I did remind you and everyone, or inform you, that this is the least I've followed the Mets since 1983. Doc Gooden's rookie year, following on the heels of Fernando Mania. Dr. K happened. Darryl Strawberry happened. And the 80s Mets phenomenon was something I was able to partake of as a lad. So
The young pup.
I dialed it back in terms of my Mets fandom, understanding that, we had very low expectations and then we became the team that got hot, that nobody believed in them, but they believed in themselves. Francisco Lindor stepped it up from a leadership perspective. We got a great manager. And by this point, I was checking it earlier in the week. By this point, probably 108 days to spring training. We're going into spring training from a position of strength. We're starting to clear some of the bad payroll and we have an owner who's ready to spend. So only one team gets to hang the banner. I guess maybe marginally I'm pulling for the Dodgers just because I live in New York and Yankee fans are entirely insufferable. At least Dodger fans are mostly checked out and don't really care except for the handful of diehards. You're not even a diehard.
I mean, I watch baseball arena. I still play Dodger Blue.
Yeah.
Huge fan. Dave Roberts as a leader and what he's done.
Yeah.
Number of championships and LCSs they've won, divisions they won. It's really hard to do in this analytics era. So huge kudos to him. I just need to, I was almost setting you up because I knew you were going to say that Yankees fans are insufferable. But I
Yeah.
just have to talk about Mets fan in front of me. The
Yeah.
Mets guy in front of me. So sitting right in front of me, and we're just getting beat up. So luckily they handed out the Dodger towel. So you put the Dodger towel underneath your hat and you just trying to, you would roast. You'd be paying us,
It would have been fun to be there.
three,
Yeah.
3,000. So one Mets fan in front and another Mets fan. I don't know if they knew each other, but it's like wearing the corduroy Mets hat. I'm like, dude, how hot are you right now? But every time Otani got up, he would say, "I'm ready." And I just wanted to And then he knew he's driving me nuts because at one point I just wanted to punch him in the throat. And I'm not a
Yeah.
violent guy,
Right.
but overrated? Come
Yeah.
on.
It's interesting that you chose the larynx, but maybe that's because you're a podcaster. Hit him where it hurts.
Hit him where it
Yeah.
hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hit him
Yeah.
where it hurts. The
Yeah.
moneymaker.
Yeah. But yeah, best of luck to the
All
Dodgers.
right. Thank you. Thank
And I
you.
think MLB's happy that
Oh, come on.
these guys, which was the other part. My God, thank God I was able to figure out how to get Howie Rose on the radio so that I didn't have to listen to first the Phillies homers on the broadcast and then the Dodger love that was everywhere. And not to mention, another reason to dislike the Yankees is Derek Jeter basically ran away from Mr. Met and Mrs. Met when they were mixing it up with Big Poppy. Come on, Derek, lighten up. Respect number two, but also lighten up. Yankees fans need to lighten up. They need to learn a little bit from Mets fans. So thank you. You goaded me into a place where I can at least get people angry at me in New York because I have to suffer through Yankee fans all my life. So
And
thank
now
you.
we can start the pod.
Now we can start the pod and we're going to shift gears. Maybe there'll be one more final coda on the World Series once it's in the books. But today, rather than talking about what's wrapping up, we're talking about what's starting. And what's starting is the NBA. The NBA tipped off on Tuesday night. And, swan song for the NBA on TNT, which has been excellent. And it's going to be hilarious and awesome until it gets sad. So that alone is going to be a fun part of what's happening. But then beyond that, the year is going to be interesting. The Knicks are still getting their flow together. Nice start for the Celtics, obviously, and also for your Los Angeles Laker squad. We started to watch a little bit of Mind the Game. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. The new coach there, JJ Redick, who's now pulling the strings, kind of, when we all know who's really pulling the strings. Big Daddy LeBron bringing out his Nepo baby to get some PT together a la the Griffies. But you wanted to talk about some of this stuff. Where do you want to go?
So I'm distracted now. Tomato, tomato, Nepo baby?
I don't
Nepo?
know.
GIF?
I don't know.
GIF? Which one? All hang
It's
every
clearly GIF. Don't
you're
at me.
so easy to poke the bear today. Is this what happens?
The end of the day, I live in New
Before
York. By
dinner?
the end of the
Before
day,
dinner?
I'm grumpy. Yeah.
So write in, please let us know how you actually pronounce it. I wanted to start with, and you talked about Mind the Game. I look back, you texted me 3 or 4 times saying you have to watch Mind the Game. This is JJ Redick and LeBron James podcast. They made it very clear. I've only had a chance to watch one episode. There's only 7, I think, in the series.
There's 9. Yeah.
9, but I'm going to watch them all. And Redick at the top made it very clear that this is a pod just about basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball lovers, they want to talk basketball, they want to talk strategy, and that's what it was.
It's also wound up being a protracted interview for JJ for the
100%.
Lakers job that he has now, which is the other reason why, as a Knicks fan and as someone who wants to be out ahead of the kinds of sets that the Lakers run, it's a good place to get some inside intel.
So everyone says JJ Redick hire is probably very much on brand for the Lakers, unprecedented. So this is called running it back. Spend a little time looking back at coaches who have come into the league with 0 coaching experience. So let's start off in the NFL. We
I think hang on just one second. He did coach 8 and 9-year-old in Brooklyn.
Sorry, I should have drawn the floor. A high score.
Okay.
NFL, you'll never forget Jeff Saturday, who got the job. He was the first head coach for an NFL team since Norm Van Brocklin, Vikings in 1961. Jeff didn't last very long.
How many Saturdays did Jeff get in that role? Not many.
See, your mind works. I should have counted the Saturdays. MLB, we had 9 times going back to 1997, first time managers. And so we're talking about the NBA. And here's the list. We got Mark Jackson, Golden State his last year, 51-31, before he got blown out to make room for one. Steve Kerr, who's had 4 championships, he's record of 5-17-274. Larry Bird, who we know took his team to a finals appearance, Indiana, 3 seasons. Bird had horrible back, horrible feet. I think he just couldn't take it any longer, but an interesting move for a Hall of Famer to be able to take over a team.
In Indiana.
in Indiana. Jason Kidd, one NBA Finals appearance. He actually coached Dallas, Brooklyn, Milwaukee. I think Dallas again, right? So he's
Yeah.
back. He's had a boomerang. Steve Nash, the Steve Nash experiment, the
Yeah.
big three in Brooklyn. Durant, Harden, and Irving. I would say he got a bad rap, but I think he was the first coach to really bust out the athleisure, the black on black,
Yeah.
skinny sweats look. That was, I
Yeah.
think he was made that. That was a fast.
It was post COVID. It was kind
It's
of
supposed
more
to, yeah, yeah, yeah,
in COVID a
yeah,
little. Yeah.
yeah. Sort of like
We all wore,
whatever you were lounging in, just go to work in.
yeah, we all wore sweats. Come on. Like, don't judge us on
I'm
that.
wearing sweats right now. What
Uh-huh.
the hell?
Yeah.
And then we got JJ Redick.
Mm.
So now
That's
let's talk
it.
about JJ. If you think back at JJ Redick, everyone hated JJ Redick. He's a dookie.
Mhm.
He's all American. He was Grayson Allen before the kicker, the guy who likes to trip is
Yeah.
before Grayson Allen. The
He
great
was
white hope people love
he
to hate.
was he had Grayson Allen in him. He also had notes of Adam Morrison.
But Adam Morrison will never live down playing in March Madness
Yeah.
against UCLA, and
Yeah.
they're up, and they lose the lead, and so now they're down 1, and there's 4 seconds left, and he's crying on the court, and you know what the Lakers said? "We gotta get that guy. Let's
Yeah.
use a high draft pick on that guy, because
Yeah.
it's not over yet, Adam. The game
Right.
is not over yet.
Right. There is no crying in
There's
basketball.
no crying anywhere. Cry at home. Cry when you're hurt.
Yeah.
Cry when you're Chris Godwin with a minute 20 left and someone hip tackles you and you got your ankle dislocated out
Right.
for the year, and that was your
Right.
free agency year. Cry then. So anyways, JJ Redick didn't have a lot of hope. Smart guy, obviously 15 seasons. So he's been under some of the most unbelievable coaches, including a stint under Doc Rivers. So I think is a great statistician,
Tactician?
tactician. And then he's been under Coach K.
He probably
Um,
has a stats guy who works for him.
So didn't know a lot about him until let's throw away game 1 of the regular season, but watching Mind the Game, he really is a geek for basketball.
Mm.
One of the things that I'm not hyping up that he's going to be the greatest thing sliced, right? But one of the things that was a rap against Darvin Ham is just his in-game
Mhm.
strategy, the way he's moving people, the way he understood offense, understood defense. And so the thing that got me was just having a coach with a high basketball IQ.
Mhm.
And watching Mind the Game, I am a big believer in high basketball IQ. You need that in a coach. And for someone that to be able to manage LeBron, you need someone who can geek out on that level. And so my question for you, and I took too long on this JJ Redick, is you think about high basketball IQ guys now on the court. Who springs to mind for you?
Well, we did talk about it a while back. I was pitching for my dude, Jalen Brunson, who clearly has some basketball IQ. The one thing I would add to what JJ showed me in that protracted job interview for the head coaching job is his emotional intelligence and his ability to both assert himself with LeBron, but also let the king do his bidding, especially when it comes to who's offering bottles of wine. Because
Oh man,
I think LeBron offered more
J-
wine.
Well, he brought JJ claimed to have 3 bottles. The scheduling got shifted, so
He left
they
it.
magically weren't there.
There in his gym bag that he left. He left at home. Yeah, 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 yeah. But the emotional intelligence, especially seeing two people in the same space as each other, and how they're kind of negotiating that, and the level to which LeBron is comfortable in his own skin, but then also comfortable with JJ in the same room, and sharing that many good bottles of wine while producing media together. You know what it's like. Our bond is stronger because
We're
actually
waiting, we're definitely having a bottle of wine next time. Come on.
we're gonna have a bottle of wine, and also I'm ready. I'm ready to get hired for whatever the gig is, because clearly I could only be gracious for so long before it turns into a job opportunity. I'm following what JJ's putting out there in the universe, but I do think the emotional intelligence is important because you want players who you have rapport with, but who also respect you. And, clearly LeBron has influence, is calling the shots, is able to get his son to play with him. And, that was a nice moment. We could talk
Let's
about
talk
that.
about Bronny. Let's definitely talk about Bronny
Talk
later.
about that next. But I would say, like, the level of savvy that Redick showed. And I'm not a big fan, by the way. You heard my sleeper pick for comeback player of the year this year is Tim Legler, who is getting all the quality JJ Redick spots on ESPN these
How's
days.
his tan? How's his tan these days?
His tan, it's browner
How
than the presidential candidate's tan. It's at least the appropriate color. And then
appropriate hue?
his game up on the big screen, I mean, I would never say anyone is right there with the Jet, but he's kind of right there with the Jet because he's actually breaking it down a little more. He actually is using, I think he uses like an iPad or
Yep.
something. Like it's like what Kobe was doing in
Some of the shorts that he did.
those shorts that he did right before he passed, which certainly gone too soon, in that respect, where you felt like the next phase of breaking things down in terms of basketball at a next level that's accessible to people. I'm kind of excited about that. And then the idea that there is a level of sophistication that we could all reach as NBA fans. That's why I think Mind the Game is something we're going to come back to. And that's why, honestly, I'm kind of pulling for Redick to be successful out there.
Oh, you're running for my Lakers. That's
Well,
awesome.
and also, y'all stole it. When did you pick Connect? Was it like 16th? Like,
17.
how did he last that long? That made no sense to me.
People overlook older players. As
I
LeBron said in that show, he said it's all about potential, but we Connect already shows potential. So one thing you hit on this, and actually was talking to a couple leaders recently. JJ is the new age leader. He is the leader of millennials, Gen Z. What you described, Darvin Ham is, think about it, opposite in a way. Darvin is, it's my way. It's the way we're going to do it. He's going to influence through force.
mm,
Sometimes it seems like, and it's grown men, but a little fear. That's what he brings to it. And JJ comes from his own skin because he feels like I know. I may not know some of the intricacies around coaching, but I know basketball.
yeah, his
And so
basketball intelligence as a coach.
and so his EQ is to give space because ultimately at the end of the day, and it's not like Kerr, you're explain what's our strategy, what's our vision. But I can give you agency to run. That's why when you watch Kerr, sometimes you have to call timeouts, and they could be on the other team could Golden State could be up 24, and all of a sudden they're up 6. And he's like,
Yeah,
figure it out. So that's the EQ that you're describing. That's sort of this new, I think, a different type of leadership where you're the person, you're the guy, but you're partnering with the other person so they feel like they're still driving.
yeah,
And
and
that's not easy to do.
yeah, what you're speaking to there is multiple intelligences. Shout out to Howard Gardner, who I recently interviewed on Trying to Get Ed. Be on the lookout for the father of the theory of
Crossover.
multiple intelligences. But the thing about JJ is he's a triple threat when it comes to intelligence. He's got the IQ, he's got the EQ, and he's also got the BQ. I mean, come on, the basketball intelligence, his BQ is off the charts.
Uh,
But I do feel like the opportunity that I'm kind of half joking about the protracted interview phase. The idea that you could have that level of intimacy with someone who is then going to be running plays for the team,
yep. The open door policy.
but it's a huge opportunity, I'd say, for both of them to really get to a next level in terms of their connection to each other, their trust in each other, their ability to work together to produce something they're proud of. I think it opens the door for podcasters to be hired for
Yeah.
increasingly influential roles.
How
So
long does it take? What's the over under on a passive aggressive tweet from LeBron?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
only,
Just
we'll
just an
leave it there.
emoji. Yeah, just an emoji.
We'll leave it there. Since we're on LeBron, let's go to LeBron and Bronny. You and I have gone back and forth. I did my buddy season tickets, USC hoops. I won't be asking for those, but I definitely want to go see Juju
I
Watkins,
was ready to go to Juju.
USC women. Yeah, I gotta go see the Juju. She's gonna break Caitlyn's record.
Juju's got
So
juice, and there's also the Juju Mojo. I don't know which one. Is it the Juju Juice?
is it
That might
Juju
be,
juice?
or is the Juju Mojo? I don't know.
So LeBron and Bronny, everyone knows Bronny averaged 4 points at USC, 55th pick in the draft. He gets instead of a two-way contract, he's signed as a draft pick, slotted at like $5-6 million,
I
something,
heard 4 million. Yeah.
or fine. Playing in preseason, there's one game he had 3 blocks. He's averaging very minimal points. He had one game he had 17, so it's interesting. And he gets a chance to play with LeBron opening night. And so you can spend all your time. Listen, LeBron Jr., Bronny is a role player. That's what he is. And read just before we got on that he will be spending time. He's going to go on the first road trip. Listen, he's going to be in Cleveland. He's got opportunity to potentially play where he was born. All yeah, that's a story. But Bronny is a developmental player. I'm going to take a step back from basketball because I thought it was very cool for the Griffies. Ken and Ken Griffey played together in 1990 Seattle. Baseball players, love Ken Griffey Jr. What unbelievable swing to be there. Because just think about it from a father and son, think about a dad
Hmm.
perspective.
Hmm.
What about that moment when years from now you're doing a pod with your son?
Yeah.
But just imagine, so we got Ken and Ken Griffey in baseball, we had Tim and Tim Raines Jr., Orioles 2001, and we got LeBron and Bronny. That's it. Sharing the same field. Now, when you think about
It never
fathers,
happened with like Jan Stenerud
and
and
maybe in the
Jan
halls,
Stenerud
I'm missing
Jr.
hockey.
Yeah.
I'm missing hockey.
No, I
Not
was thinking
sure.
like, what about the Andersons? Were there two generations of kickers?
I don't know. I don't know if the Earnhardts had ever
Mm.
traded over. Now we do have
They
father
raced
son.
together, I'm sure,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
but we have been, we if we look back at all the pods we've done, really football, basketball, we're just I mean,
Yeah.
we try to flex, but it's harder for us. But you got Dion, Shador, and Shiloh now.
Yeah.
You got, Sandy Roberto and Sandy Alomar.
Mhm.
We have the most recent, the Washington Mystics, their coach, Eric and Mike the Balt, the GM. So his father, son, GM coach had just left. So
Just
you
got
have these
bounced.
moments. So
Yeah.
can we take a pause? It's Tiger and his son, Charlie.
Mhm.
It's how proud are these dads to see what their kids are doing. So just take a moment. It's never happened before. Don't expect Bronny to be anything other than a role player. Maybe when his contract's up, he'll be a better player.
Mhm.
He's got some bounce. He's 6'1", maybe.
Yeah.
Not a streaky jumper. But like I just love the fact that, especially as a parent, to be able to sit there and see what if my daughter is being able to do, it'd be unbelievable. So
Mhm.
kudos to you, LeBron. You're not taking anything away from us, Laker fan. Yes, if I'm the Lakers, they made a smart business decision to keep Bronny around. So LeBron has a good year. So
Mhm.
that's what it is. I like stop tracking Bronny stats.
Yeah.
So we used to track LeBron stats. We forget stop tracking Bronny stats. There'll be none.
All right. Just to play counterpoint to your point, first off, assuming he's a grown man, he needs to come up with a different name than Bronny. I mean, come on. You're not 8 anymore, and that's really the story here where I do think a dad could want for his son for him to show that he can make it on his own rather than the way he's coming into the league. He will forever be in his dad's shadow. Maybe he's able to shed it and maybe he's able to get further faster because of his dad. But then that brings me to I'll use your parlance, the nepotism,
Yeah.
Nepo baby. It's got to be Nepo baby. You're right. But there is someone else somewhere who deserves that time. And that player is, I guess, in the development league and eventually will have a shot to make it. I feel like if we were running a more meritocratic, and I know your background, you like meritocracy, if we're running a more meritocratic NBA, Ronnie would have to show the grit. I like what he's doing. Show the grit, show the hustle, and climb his way out of developmental.
Is the NBA a business?
Last I checked, I believe that it is.
Is every franchise running a business?
Yeah, I don't like the way you're saying business, but sure. I feel like I did
What
something wrong every time you say business.
does Bronny bring fans to the stadium?
Yeah,
Interest,
yeah,
likes from the next generation of fans that potentially are not even looking at the NBA or on TikTok
right.
and other things.
Hmm.
So massive following. If I'm the Lakers, they made a good business
Yeah,
decision.
right. Snoop should play some garbage minutes then too. Snoop's back from Paris.
Speaking of that, if you haven't seen Piece by Piece, the Pharrell
Yeah,
movie, I knew that he was prolific. I just never knew how many songs he was involved with, he produced.
I'm
It
glad you
is
brought that up. It's good.
crazy.
I
It
want to
is
see it.
amazing. Go see it.
Now, it's okay for a 5-year-old?
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I thought. Okay, awesome.
100%.
It's on our
Go.
list. Also, like, once I mention a movie to him,
Play
kinda
happy,
wants he kinda
play
wants to
happy,
go.
and go.
Yeah,
Like, you have to go. Go this
yeah,
weekend.
right. Well, because also it's in the marketing, getting back to the business of movies. I don't even say it the way you do, but getting back to the business of movies, Despicable Me featured trailers were The Wild Robot and Piece by Piece. And
Yep.
both of them, as far as the trailers go, Matthew and I looked at each other and we were more psyched about Piece by Piece. We've since gone to see The Wild Robot, which is fantastic.
You know, the music is behind Despicable Me.
Of course. Of course. Don't get me singing. I'm having a bad day. Oh, you got me singing. And then there's the second one, which is a whole even better. But yes, a huge fan. Pharrell? Farrell.
Pharrell. Pharrell.
Pharrell? My pronunciation. I need to go back to remediation. of my
Pharrell of the Neptunes.
Pharrell with the Neptune. Pharrell.
And
Excuse me,
his
it's
partner,
the
Jade.
it's the accent
yeah.
on the second syllable that I'm having trouble with. Pharrell. There you go. You heard it from us.
I love afternoon Palmer before
Yeah.
dinner. So, 3 more hits that I want to talk about as we think about the season. One, the Jason Tatum, Caitlyn Clark revenge tour. Caitlyn Clark left out Olympics and she went on a torture. Jason Tatum, I looked it up. Jason Tatum played less minutes than Derek White in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Derek White was an alternate. So Jason Tatum's only 2 games, but averaging 31 points, 7.5.
He had more minutes than Halliburton, though, right?
No, I was going to go there next. So if
Okay.
we're going to have 2 guys, a snub and a guy that sat there as an all NBA player that can play, I want Jason Tatum to go off this year. I want him to go off.
I'm rooting for the Lakers and you're rooting for Jason
Just
Tatum.
one guy. I just
Okay.
want one guy. I want everyone, Porzingis to be him. He gets hurt.
You got to like Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's hard to dislike.
I love Drew Holiday. Jalen Brown's fine. You know, get a left hand every now and again. You know.
Learn how to dribble.
I want Jason Tatum to go off and Jalen Brunson. So if you talk about a snub,
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark is kind of putting on both. Caitlin Clark snubbed. Diana Taurasi just went off with averaging 0.01 points a game.
Yeah.
And she just went on a burner at the back end. I want Jason Tatum to have that year. I want Jalen Brunson. Once again, I put this in just to see your reaction because, I mean, Halliburton was definitely more qualified, better
Oh my
leader,
God.
offensive player, 3-point shooter, definitely plays grittier defense.
Also just chemistry with other great players. Because, Brunson would have fit in with that crowd. Although, frankly, as a Knicks fan, I'm kind of the Caitlin Clark and also Jaylen Brown mentality where I want my player to get rest. I don't want them to play. In the Olympics, he just broke his hand and had a really grueling playoff run. Playoffs? Let him get his rest. Let him get a chip on his shoulder. I don't know about Cat, man. That's a whole nother thing. But Halliburton, I'm still of a mind that we are going to show that kid what for. He's haunting me. I see Halliburton in my dreams. I can't get that guy. And he's everywhere. I saw him. He was at a Halloween party dancing to like a Drake song. He was doing karaoke. That might have been the same party. And then I see him on McAfee, and I was foolish enough to turn McAfee on, but then I turned McAfee on for like 5 minutes.
Now you're like, oh, I know I don't turn McAfee on.
Oh my God.
So thank you for you're playing your role today. So 2 others that I'm paying attention to. One is former Bruin, Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball, 3 terrible knee surgeries, out 2 years. He hasn't played a game in 1,013 days. Played his first game.
Some questionable driving.
His first game.
Is that him or his brother? That's him, right?
No, driving.
That's his brother. That's LaMelo.
LaMelo.
You're talking LaMelo. You talking Charlotte?
I'm taking Lonzo
Lonzo's
Ball, Chicago Bulls.
Back in Chicago. Okay.
He was instead of drafting Tatum, we said, let's draft Lonzo Ball. Instead of drafting Jaylen Brown, let's draft Brandon Ingram of those balls. That's the ball. I'm rooting for it. It reminds me of Sean Livingston when he came back from his gruesome injury, ACL, PCL, MCL, and had a career. We think back to Durant, Achilles, Kobe, Achilles, Paul George at that compound fracture.
George. I was thinking Paul George and Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward never came back, really. Yeah. But I'm rooting for Lonzo Ball. He was playing well before the knee injury, so let's root for him. And then the last note that I have, there are tons of stories, but Ja. So Ja's gonna be Ja. I said we can go back to the tape that the sleeper team this year are the Grizzlies. You gotta watch out. I think Edie is a bomb. Bane, Jaren Jackson's out right now. You got a team. It's like playing the Detroit Lions. That team is so physical and gritty.
Yeah.
You don't want to play them. So
Marcus Smart's still out there, right?
Marcus Smart as well. Oh, I forgot about Marcus. So remind me, he's coming back from a 25-game suspension. because, as we coined him, he likes to fight guy. He likes the flash gun way too
Yep.
much. So it reminded I was like, so this is remind me of Ron Artest, pre-Metal World Peace,
St. John's.
86 game, Alice in the Palace.
True warrior.
True Warrior. Is this Latrell choking PJ, who's out 68 games? Is this Draymond,
Have,
16 games because he
have you
just
had a conversation with PJ Carlesimo? I'm just asking.
I would love to. But this is closer to me, Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas was
Mhm.
really on top of his game and playing for was it the Bullets then or the
Yeah.
Wizards?
I think they probably were the Wizards by
So
then.
let's call it the Wizards.
Yeah.
And it had to be the Wizards.
It's two on the
And
nose if it was the
if it's two of those. And gets a 50-game suspension for bringing a weapon into the locker room because he had an argument with Javers Crittenton over, I didn't even look that one up. It's just there over a card game. And after that,
It was a loaded gun, right?
loaded, Abrinas got hurt and it was never the same. But Ja was all world. He was on top. He was truly, in my mind, the next Derrick Rose. Same height, jumping ability, and people were really attracted to his game. So I hope
Mhm.
he leaves the likes to fight guy and put your bets on right now for the Grizzlies. Now, Edie did foul out in 5 minutes of play, but hey, you need a big man just to be big.
Just to jump in on that one too, I believe you're available now in terms of your executive coaching skills. So it sounds like if Jaws people want to get in touch with us about learning as you go with the erudite coaching of Tarlin Ray, the ball's in your court. Ja, have your people contact Tarlin's people. There's some coaching on your horizon.
100%, 100%. I'm really excited for the season. I will say with the NFL, I don't do anything Saturdays. I'll check the scores in college.
College.
The NFL, I got to the point where my daughter's like, there are more games. But then last Sunday, NFL package, baseball,
Yeah.
that's a tough, don't leave the couch. My daughter kept saying, don't you have work to do?
Right.
Yeah.
That's my other, you're landing right in my other rationalization as a Mets fan, where normally I get September and October back. This year, I had to follow the Mets until third week of October, which is kind of unprecedented. And it's the first time that they've successfully passed the baton to the Knicks in really maybe ever. Like, how often have the Mets been good enough to keep my rooting interest alive long enough to hand it off? Typically, they hand it off to the Giants, where the Giants have had a few times where they were still, but many seasons, the Giants are done by October, kind of like this
Like,
season.
no.
Yeah. So at least we had a successful handoff within a week or so of when the Mets were eliminated. Actually, within days of when the Mets were eliminated.
The Knicks got their
Knicks,
ass kicked.
but they're back in contention. You write off that game. Like Josh Hart said, if the Celtics shoot like that this season,
No one has a chance.
let's coordinate them
23 points. Yeah.
right now. And then if you look at the way the minutes were distributed across the Knicks, there's still a lot of sussing out of
Hey, this wasn't an opening to talk about the Knicks.
they are must-see TV. There's going to be a little bit of payback unleashed tonight on the Indiana Pacers, and that's going to continue throughout this year. I have no fear of them.
If
Honestly,
Indiana wins tonight,
I still have no fear of them. But if the NBA is back, we're back, baby. We're back. And we're back. We got some interesting coals in the fire potentially about future episodes. We'll hold tight about that.
we won't tease it yet, but we're getting some people reaching out about past sports heroes, and
Heroes.
that people are grokking what we're throwing out. Look at current sports moments and what do we learn? What can we learn from the past? And we often like to talk about leaders today, whether it's what's happening in business, happening in sports. So, Palmer, I promise, do my best I can. I only triggered you 3 times today, but it's a win for me. It's sort of
Yeah.
a
Nice
warm
way to end the
feeling.
week. Yeah, exactly. And I will say the other group that's out there is NBA players who are hosting podcasts. Tyrese Halliburton, still the bane of my existence, did recently have one Barack Obama on as a guest on a podcast called The Young Man and the Three.
He's Olympian. So we got to work on our pull.
We're going to work on our pull, but also Barack,
2025. I promise a big pull.
but also Barack, after the election and we're all happy about the results, everything's come together. You have some free time. there's a place for you to be welcome here on Running It Back,
Always.
not just on NBA players, also on
You just want another lefty on.
regular people like us. We're able to go left. Tarlin, always a pleasure.
Peace out.
And for our listeners, we'll be back soon. This is Running It Back.